Hello, and welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena. Welcome to all members, friends, and guests here in person and virtually. My name is James Coombs, and I'm proud to serve as a member of your Board of Trustees. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. And we acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielina Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. With respect to the rights and wisdom of Indigenous peoples, we acknowledge our harmful colonial histories and commit to decolonizing our own practices, to learning new ways of being in community and with each other, and good relationship with the Indigenous peoples of this land and with the land itself. Today's service is led by Senior Minister Reverend Dr. Omega Burkhart, with music by Music Director Dr. Zenaida Robles, Associate Music Director Wells Lang, and the Neighborhood Bell Choir directed by F. Thomas Simpson. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. And thank you for joining us as we continue to prioritize connection over perfection in this hybrid service, which is streamed and recorded on YouTube. Families with young children are always welcome in the sanctuary or the narthex. And I only have one announcement today. There is a lot of information in our weekly newsletter, in the Sunday email announcement, and at the information tables on the patio. I really encourage you to check out the wide range of ways to become involved or more involved in this beloved community. Our order of service and those extensive announcements are available as a link to in those emails posted in the narthex or through the QR code on the back of your hymnal. You can always get more information on these and many other activities at the tables outside. And again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Welcome to this inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service.
The words for our invocation this morning come from my colleague, Andrea Hawkins-Kemper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this space today. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, the chalice lighters of justice, of love and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way. Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, and the wanderers who are not lost. Blessed are we, the transgressors, the trespassers, the passers-by, the cause takers, the defiant, and the compliant. Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, the protectors. Blessed are we, the trans women, the trans men, non-binary, the cisgender, the multigender, the no gender. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, and the authentic. Blessed are we who rise in solidarity. Blessed are we who cannot. Blessed are we who do not. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are. Come, let us worship together this morning.
Good morning. Our opening hymn is number 330 in your gray hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing, Here Have We Gathered.
Gathered side by side. Good morning. I'm Matt Vasco, your Director of Spiritual Exploration. And I just was thinking maybe the thing to do this morning, since we've got the tables here, is if the kids who are further back, who would have a hard time seeing the pictures, would want to come sit in the front row here, maybe that'd be the way to go. So rather than my traditional calling the children and youth forward, I'll just say, kids, come sit in the front row. Maybe you can see a little better from there. How's that sound? So our book today is We Are All Connected, Caring for Each Other and the Earth, about our interconnectedness, one of our UU values. It's written by Gabby Garcia and illustrated by Natalia Jimenez Orozco. We are all connected. We all live on one blue dot spinning in space. We are all part of one human race. We have hopes and dreams and love in our hearts. We are stronger together than we are apart. So why all this fuss to compete and compare when it feels so much better to connect and to share? We can share when we're sad or down in the dumps. We can share our joys, high fives, and fist bumps. When we're seen and heard, trust blooms and grows. We are all connected. Kindness ripples and flows. Isn't it wonderful how kindness does that? Let's speak up for others, include and embrace. We all make mistakes. We all can give grace. We have more in common than we may believe. We are all connected. We all love. We all grieve. We can celebrate differences. Isn't that beautiful? We can celebrate differences. Differences don't have to divide us. Lend a hand, learn from each other, take a stand for justice. It says justice right there. Peace, love, justice. We are all connected. Let's raise our voices. We can work together and make brave choices. And here we see children united for Earth, to help protect the earth. Protect the water, care for the land, respect all beings. The earth is grand. Nature gives her bounty. She is gentle and mighty. Stand in awe of her force. Preserve her beauty. Let's look under rocks and explore vast skies. Honor the mountains and chase butterflies. Let's go hunting for rainbows. Plant more trees, yeah. Grow a garden and be friends with bees. The earth is our home and needs our care. We all play a part. We breathe the same air. We belong to the earth. It is not ours. We belong to it. We are all connected. We are made of stars. The end. Thank you. Now please join me in singing our children and youth out to their spiritual exploration classes.
Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of its contributions to a 501c3 organization or to a neighborhood church-based social justice activity that is making a difference in our community and the world. Each selected guest organization aligns with our community's mission and values and is nominated by church members who often are longtime volunteers and supporters of these change-making organizations. In addition to placing your donation in the plate, online giving is available using the QR code on the donations box just outside in the sanctuary or by using the text instructions shown on the screen. If you wish to make a payment towards your pledge or contribute to church operations, make a note in the subject line or use an envelope at the box that's available at the donation box. This week, our gifts will support the Blvd Foundation. Here to tell us more is our guest, Chelsea Alexander, the Director of Development for the Blvd Foundation. Chelsea? Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everybody. So I had notes that I brought with me, but I just do better speaking from the heart. So that's what I'm going to do, is just speak to you from the heart. So the Blvd Foundation is an incredible little organization. We're headquartered right here in Los Angeles, and we were born based off of the legacy of the little boy you see on the screen. That's Pablo. And his parents created the Blvd Foundation in his honor. He lost his battle to childhood cancer just 6 days after his 6th birthday. And so because of the love that was still out there and the love that the families wanted to create for other kids who were undergoing cancer, they took his name, Pablo, and merged it with the word love, and I think that that's incredible. But it's very difficult for people to say, very difficult for people to remember. So we have two main pillars of our organizations. We focus on the programmatic portion, and that's us improving the quality of life for children with cancer. And we know cancer doesn't discriminate, and it definitely is so much more difficult trying to explain to a young child where they have to go to so many hospitals and visit the doctors, and they can't just have a normal childhood, and we hated that. And so we created a program called the Blvd Shutterbugs, where we provide children in treatment or survivors of with cameras, and they can use the cameras to kind of distract themselves from the treatments and also document their journey. And so we find it really powerful, and through some of the surveys that we've been able to learn from these kids that it also helped them to create a community, just like you guys are doing here. It connects them with other kids going through that same journey. And for most kids, it can be such an isolating event. And we don't want them to feel isolated. We want them to feel like they have other people going through the same thing and that they can feel at home. And the other part of our mission is to help fund better treatments for these kids. So we invest in research, which is really, really important considering our government only spends about 4% of all cancer research focused on childhood cancers. And one thing that most people don't know is those children that do get diagnosed with a childhood cancer, it's not just a one and done. Let's say they survive their cancer. 95% of them have some sort of lifelong issue or have other issues because of these treatments, and we don't want that. We want kids to be able to have kids, to be kids, and to, be able to enjoy the life that they've been given, and we find that's so powerful. And so thank you for inviting us and sharing the love with us today. I'll be around if anybody has questions, and thank you again.
Thank you, Chelsea. Will the volunteers please bring the plates forward? And we thank you for your support.
It is a sad day when we pause to honor the life of a young person gone too soon from this world. For those of you who have looked at the order of service, my reading originally was planned to call for a ceasefire in Gaza, an ending to the mass killing of innocent people and children, and in some ways the reading that I will offer today is for them too. Too many lives lost. Too many. However, at this time, I call us into a time of ritual, a time of shared grief, a time of honoring the non-binary youth in Oklahoma who was killed earlier in February. Next, Benedict was 16 years young and died as a result of being beaten in their school's bathroom. Say their name with me. Next, Benedict. A tragedy no child should bear, and is a tragedy no family should bear, a tragedy that no one anywhere should bear. So today I offer you a reading that I shared earlier in the month of January. We opened our year celebrating love, putting love at the center, and today I will revisit a reading I have shared with you so that we can hold our grief, we can hold our fear, we hold those tenderly and with love. For our beloveds here, our trans beloveds, our non-binary beloveds, our gender-abundant beloveds, our gender-joyful beloveds, you are welcome here. You belong here. We love you. A reading from Amy Petrie Shaw. I was talking with God the other day, because we're cool like that. And God said, hey, I want you to tell people something. And I was kind of busy, so I pretended like I didn't hear. And God poked me and said, I'm not kidding. Pay attention. Because while we're cool, we aren't that cool. And I know when I've pushed it too far. So I put down my coffee cup and I turned around. And God said, let me hang a word around your neck so that everyone can see it. And you better speak it when you're out, because I'll know if you don't. And it will be heavy, so heavy on your soul. And a word was hung around my neck to take out to the people standing in the streets, a word that was preached into my ear and laid into my mouth and burned into my heart until all I could see was the shape of the word, and the word was all, and the word was love. And God said, now get out, because you don't have all day, and that word is going to get heavier, and you've got some work yet to do. So I'm taking my word out into the world. Love came down on this green earth. Love came down and turned over the tables and set the world on its end. Love made it clear that it was the word for the poor and the brokenhearted, for the queer boy and the angry girl. Love was the word for the late-night hookers and the long-haul truckers and the heroin junkies and the runaway cutters. Love was the word for all of the screwed up and pushed over and too tired and I can't take no more. Love was the word for the HIV patient and the man with no papers. Love was the Word for me and for you, for the saints and the sinners and all of the scramblers in between. Love came down and made a way for there to be a way, and then said, love. We are never going back. He who has ears, let him hear. Love said, we are part of something bigger, and if you cannot rise with us, if you cannot love with us, then you should get the hell out of the way, because we aren't going anywhere, and you are in the path. He who has ears, let him hear. Love came down for the world to know, and I'm holding this word out for you, so that you can't pretend that you didn't know. I cannot put it down. I cannot put it down for a politician spewing hatred, not for a minister vomiting out bile in the costume of a saint, not for money, not for country, not for kin. I'm holding my word in my mouth, because the next time I see God, I want to be able to say, you gave me a word, and I carried it just like you asked. You gave it to me, and I took it. I showed it to everyone I met. You gave it to me, and I showed it to her, and to Gur, and Z, and him. I showed it to them, and they, and to those over there. I never put it down. I can never put it down. I was talking the other day with God, because we're cool like that, and God said, hey, I want you to tell people something, and I was still kind of busy, so I pretended like I didn't hear, and God said, I'm not kidding. Pay attention. Because while we're cool, we aren't that cool. And I know when I pushed it too far, so I put down my coffee cup, and I turned around, and then God gave me a word. And now I've given it to you. At this moment, I will ring our bell for a moment of silence and light a candle for Next Benedict. If you would like to light a candle in the back, please do so. A poem for Next Benedict by David Gate. If God created the night and the day, and the dawn, of course, and the dusk, and the tangerine rose-pink sunset, and the infant bright of morning, and the deep amethyst twilight, then to perceive the world in binary is to forego knowledge of the divine. Amen. At its core, at its most inspirational, its most aspirational, being a member of a group or an organization means belonging, not just privileges that come with it. I realize the rather inelegant transition between honoring the death of Nex Benedict and talking about membership in a church community may feel abrupt. It might feel disconnected. But dear ones, I assure you it is not. When our worship team planned a sermon service on membership some weeks ago, nowhere was it written, thank God, that we would mourn the death of a non-binary teenager this week. At the fundamental level, this community, though, and others like it, this community is life-saving. This community is life-affirming, and creating belonging is our mission. Creating a world where all are welcome is our mission. Creating and celebrating a world together is our mission. Come with your hurt. Come here with your grief. Come here with your wonderings about your identity or your expression. Come with your joy. Bring your whole complicated self. You belong here. Now, being a member of a Unitarian Universalist church is a special sort of arrangement because we choose to be together. We choose belonging. We choose to create space of belonging for other people. Now, some of you have grown up in this church, and perhaps it feels a little less like a choice for you. But for many of us, becoming a member of a church was a choice, or that is a choice, against societal norms right now. Some of you were present at my installation a few weeks ago when the Reverend Dr. Matthew Johnson preached about how becoming a member of a church at this point in time is weird. His words. And indeed, he urged us to be a little weird. For those of us coming from other faith traditions, becoming a member of a church or a faith group is a given, perhaps by participation or by birth or by family lineage, but less so for Unitarian Universalists. Because we value the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, we create a membership process so that you and me, choose freely to covenant with each other. We have to choose it. We have to be intentional about it. A covenant means that we choose how we are going to be together, not what to believe. I know that you have probably heard this. You may have even said it. I know I've said it, but I've changed my thinking on this. I am glad to be in a place of like-minded people. But you know what? I actually don't want to be in a place of like-minded people. That would just be an echo chamber. I want to be challenged by differently minded people. I want to learn new ways and new perspectives. Rather, I want to be with people who choose to work on conflict when it comes up, who seek coming together in mutual support, even when it means hard conversations. And still, we choose together to create a space of belonging, to thrive together, a place of affirmation of each other's spiritual paths. The Reverend Kendall Gibbons describes it this way. She refers to our Unitarian Universalist churches as communities of memory and promise. Our communities, she states, our communities of memory and promise are founded upon covenants because we all need a defense against the impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions. We all need a defense against the impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions. It is necessary to be reminded from time to time of what you said you were going to do and what you really want, over and above the lure of momentary comfort. Covenant, she goes on, is our word for the solemn promises that counteract the randomness of a future in which anything and everything is possible, by committing us in advance to certain relationships and values. We do this because what we build with intention, and even with difficulty, is more satisfying in the long run than the pleasures that we happen to encounter. We do it in time-consuming rituals. We do it by invoking powers that we scarcely know how to name, because we are seeking some way to give our lives the density and dignity and depth that we suspect, with longing, might yet be possible. Her words highlight that as we get close to each other by honoring promises of how we will be together, it's an antidote to hyper-independence. It's an antidote to holding our actions and those of others as theoretical ways that we want to share. We can only do this together, for that is what religion is. You can be spiritual all by yourself. But being part of a religion means that we do it together. Religion is doing spirituality in community. For this reason, this understanding of membership in our covenantal communities requires us to be proximate, not theoretical. Proximate in this sense, it's borrowed from the social justice circles, an idea that asks us to get close, to get up and close and personal with that which we hold dear. Getting proximate is how we turn the theoretical or the ideological or the theological into lived experiences and aspirations. In other words, we can say we want to belong to something, we can be members of something larger than ourselves, but until we commit to getting close to it, to being tender with it, to becoming intertangled with it, with its well-being, we are still independent of it if we're not proximate. The UU minister Karen Anderson describes it this way: proximity is more important than right thinking. Cultivating close relationships is more important than cultivating careful thought. That the formula we have always thought works, get informed, get passionate, and get going, that formula is flawed, she says. It's time we resisted this way of thinking and change our perspective and our approach. Get informed, yes, but before you get going, get close. That is why in our church, we invite our Share the Plate guests to join us for our services. We can get a bit more proximate with those relationships, with what's going on. It's not merely theoretical anymore. That's why when you choose to become a member, Ginger and I will help you consider all the ways you can get involved here in this community. We want you to get proximate. We want you to become involved in a way that is right for you at this point in your life. Getting proximate, why we have all of our tables for social justice today. We want you to get up close and personal with all the amazing things, activities, events, organizations that this church supports. Get proximate. Getting proximate, getting up close and personal, of course, is a way to feel connected to something larger than ourselves. By going really granular, interestingly, we get global. By getting connected in immediate ways, in proximate ways, we connect to the larger web that holds us. And we know as Unitarian Universalists and those of us who are learning about it, that balance between independent member congregations and that larger web, that balance is alive. And it presents some interesting trends that I'd like to share with you today. My colleague, the Reverend Matthew Johnson, who preached a few weeks ago, he mentioned how becoming a member of a church at this point is not commonplace. He and I had spoken previous to his arrival at some length about a conversation I had with our young adult group here at this church about how their involvement in this congregation right now is countercultural. Membership and participation in church is not now the norm in the United States, much less in urban areas like this. That's not meant to ostracize anyone, and I'm sure that when Reverend Johnson charged us to be a little weird, it was to honor the way that making a commitment is countercultural. So what is the current state of this faith tradition? What shape does our larger network take right now in February of 2024? Matthew and others have been hard at work analyzing some data that was released with the individual UU congregations at the beginning of February. I've also added some of my own analysis here. So here's a snapshot of Unitarian Universalism for you. There are 969 congregations that have certified, meaning that they've turned in their data by the appointed deadline on time to the Unitarian Universalist Association. 969. Now, there are about 50 or so that have committed to turning in, they just didn't make the deadline yet. So let's imagine that there are about 1,000 Unitarian Universalist congregations. These are congregations that have chosen to certify themselves as Unitarian Universalists. This is around the world, not just in the United States. Now, there are many other congregations that choose to not certify as Unitarian Universalists for a myriad of reasons. I'm not including them here. I don't have that data. So around 1,000, a little bit more than 1,000. In total, there are 133,427 members of certified congregations. That's not counting friends or visitors. These are folks who have become members of Unitarian Universalist congregations. That's down just a little bit from last year, down 1.3%. Last year's total was 135,196. Now, as a side note, I like to mention this. When I became a Unitarian Universalist, the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee some time ago, and the first time I heard my minister give a similar sermon to this, he noted that at that time, there were more Catholics in the city of Milwaukee than there were Unitarian Universalists in the world. I thought, no, that's not possible. We might not be as big. We're pretty mighty. We're pretty mighty, so don't let those numbers fool you. Now, the two largest churches that have certified their data, the first is the Church of the Larger Fellowship, otherwise known as the CLF, those of you who might be familiar with their work. They serve folks purely online. So these are folks who don't have a home congregation close by, a lot of ministers who travel, folks who can't access a congregation. For example, there are 500 members alone in the state of Texas who are incarcerated, and that is their primary religious home. I'm sure there are more in other states. Those are just the numbers that were given by a colleague. So for them, the CLF is their religious home. There are 3,000 members in the Church of the Larger Fellowship. The second largest UU congregation is in the Philippines with 2,600 members. Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church doesn't quite meet those numbers, but we're doing pretty good. We're hovering at around 440 members, although that number literally is changing every week. So I might need to ask Ginger Fury for the most updated number. Now, this is up fairly significantly from a few years ago when I started entering the search process to become your minister, and at that point, you were hovering in the high 380s, I think. So our current membership at 440 puts us in the top tier. A group of the largest congregations, there are 47 of us. Remember, there are about 1,000 congregations. We're in the top 47. Those are congregations with above 420 members. The top tier quarter is 47 congregations, 1/4 of members. I just want to put that out there, and I'm going to go through the next tiers. In other words, our church here is in the top 50 in terms of size. We are on the bottom side of that tier, but we are still in that top tier. Now, the next quarter of congregations in terms of membership have between 232 and 420 members. So the next tier down, there are 112 of those size congregations. The next tier down, churches with a membership between 231 down to 122, that's about 200 congregations. And for those of you who have never attended a smaller UU church, churches with membership under 121 people make up the vast majority of our congregations. There are 609 of them. So most of our Unitarian Universalist congregations by number, making up 1/4 of the total membership, have fewer than 120 people. Some of you may have gone to one of those churches at another time in your life. Not all of our churches have ministers. The UUA recommends a settled minister when membership comes in at about 150 or more. There are 269 congregations who have settled ministers like myself. The other 700 have a combination of contract, interim, developmental, or they are lay-led by fine people such as yourselves. All right, we've done a deep dive of the numbers. Let's look at a map of the United States. Looking at the United States, there are 5 regions in the United States. New England, which is the traditional home of Unitarian Universalism. New England congregations, we're pretty far from Boston, I just want to mention that. But that has been the seat of Unitarian Universalism for a while. 216 congregations in the New England region. The southern region, spanning from Florida to Texas, 206. Central East congregations around the East Great Lakes, 177, also 177 in the middle. And the Pacific Western region, of which we are a part, if you draw a line that goes Montana down to New Mexico, which is a big swath of the United States, 180. There are 180. So if you're curious, California, we have 68. 68 UU congregations with a total membership of 9,093. Massachusetts, with 127 congregations and 15,530. So you get further away from Boston, except for the online congregation, the numbers get a little smaller. Now, most of these congregations have a process that's similar to ours to become a member, although every congregation has a little bit of a variant to it because we are independent. So when a person switches congregations, they must make a choice to become a member in the new congregation. Your membership does not carry. Some places require some classes. We don't currently do that. However, we are having a class today, or a meeting today, after the second service at 1 o'clock, and also Tuesday at 5:30, if anyone is curious about membership, to talk with membership coordinator Ginger Fury and I. Those of you who have joined in the past few years have likely spoken with Ginger or another minister. There's some paperwork that gets filled out, including part of our requirement is a pledge. Now, your pledge can be 0. There is no minimum. There's also no maximum. Just saying. No top limit. Now, stay tuned. We're going to talk about pledging in a couple of weeks. We'll delve into the data then around that. You're invited to sign the book and then participate in a ritual of covenant building with this community. That is how you become a member here. But let us make no mistake. You belong here, whether or not you become a member. Our children belong here, and they haven't signed the book. Our guests belong here when they join us on Sunday morning or in one of our groups or for spiritual education or for OWL. You belong here. Being a part of this community is not transactional. There's no privileges of membership like you would get with your frequent flyer card or warehouse access like at Costco. But being a member does do something on the number side that is real. It helps our congregation appropriately report how many people we engage with, which in turn sets important standards for number of employees and for salary amounts and for guidelines for religious spiritual exploration teachers, and it sets our music budgets and so much more. So becoming a member is important. But also, on the less data-driven side, it signals your commitment to becoming proximate with a community. Becoming proximate with a community of people in a covenantal relationship that determines how we are together, not just what we believe. The truth is, in the words of Judith Butler, we are undone by each other. We are undone by each other. Humans are undone by other humans, and it is because of this that we choose to promise to each other not to undo one another. We choose to become proximate with the messy and the complicated and the often beautiful ways that we create community together. We choose to be a little weird. We choose to be something bigger than ourselves. We choose to be one of the 135,000 Unitarian Universalist members in the world. For comparison, that is just shy of the number of residents in Pasadena, in case you were wondering. You are one of 135,000 people working in relationship with others in small and not so small communities around the world to celebrate and to create and articulate complex spiritual paths that prioritize living aspirationally into an unknown future, into a greater purpose than ourselves. You belong here, whether you are a member or not. Our community is life-saving. It is life-affirming in a world that can be unpredictable and painful. But it can also be beautiful. You belong here. There is no privilege of membership greater than the one that we create together. There is no thriving without thriving together. May it be so.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Great to giving.
Blessed are we who have gathered in this space today with open hearts. Blessed are we, the hand extenders and the sign makers and the protesters and the protectors. Blessed are we, the trans women, trans men, the non-binary cisgender, the multigender, and the no gender. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, and the authentic. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are. May it be so.